Jeff Simon for Social Flight at Sun and Fun 2023 with another cool update. I'm here with Teresa DeMers, Executive Vice President at Lightspeed. And Teresa, I have to tell you, before we even get into the details, a cool story about your Delta Zulu headset.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
So I had the opportunity to test it, and I thought that I was just going to be testing it normally, but we had to do the annual on the aircraft, and all these things are going on. And so we hop in the aircraft, I've got the Delta Zulu on, we're doing a run-up for our annual inspection, and all of a sudden it starts telling me that I've got high carbon monoxide. And at the time I'm thinking like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I mean, I have a carbon monoxide monitor, I haven't had any problems with it, but what I realized is, as we were going into the annual inspection, doing our pre-run-up, this was the first time in the season that I turned on the heat.
Right.
And the Bonanza's having a heat shutoff valve. So it had been completely shut off before that, and we weren't having a problem. Well, lo and behold, we have it. So we're trying to track down what's going on. And we found, and there's an article coming out about it, having to do with heat exchangers and how things work with exhaust systems. And so now there's an AOPA article coming out about this stuff where this alerted us immediately to the fact that we had a crack in an exhaust system, which, by the way, was fairly new.
Wow.
So it wasn't even like this is old and expected.
Right.
And so I want to thank you for that.
Ugh,
if I hadn't been part of your program, I wouldn't have been instantly alerted, and we found it. It was just so cool. So what's it like transforming the headset world and now being focused on safety wearables?
Well, thank you for asking that question. I think that's really the difference that Delta Zulu brings to the market, is that it's elevating the whole purpose of what a headset can be, and really can be a safety tool. And you had, the perfect example of that. We just, we have a part of the Delta Zulu program is something that pilots can opt into when they first log into the Lightspeed app with their Delta Zulu. And it's called the Personal Safety Data Partnership Program, PSDPP for short. And for the pilots that opt into that, then we're aggregating in an anonymous way this data. And just this morning, we released some of just very early preliminary results of that data. But out of the 5,000 flights that have taken part in this PSDPP program, about 3% of them had carbon monoxide in the caution range during at least some part of the flight. And almost 1% of them had carbon monoxide in the critical range during some part of the flight. So those pilots, we don't know the decisions that they made, but if they were like you, now they had the information that they could make a decision to get down, do whatever they want to, to be able to avoid a catastrophe. So we are so humbled and gratified by this is really cementing it for us, right? That this really has the potential to save lives.
That's impressive. I mean, think about that. So you've got this voluntary program where people can anonymously, you said, submit data for what it records, and now you're finding information that we don't know as mechanics, as IAs in the field.
Right.
We can only say, here's how many aircraft I see in a year, here's the ones that have problems. You're seeing it on a much broader scale, and that's fascinating to me because really 1 in 100 having a critical problem with carbon monoxide in the cockpit is actually staggering to me. 3 in 100 having something that even starts to approach that.
Yes.
It tells people we have a lot of work to do on the maintenance side, and this is a great way to increase safety and alert people to things like what we found where we have to go and work on the airplane.
Right, and we're happy to share the data. I mean, it's really part of our goal and our mission for this whole project is to be able to share the data so that the general aviation community can start to understand the characteristic of what's happening with carbon monoxide as well. So, and those statistics were at some part of the flight. Sometimes it was while people were still on the ground, and so they're still at least getting alerted, and that's maybe a little bit more common than airborne. But there were plenty of those flights where we can see over time that it was airborne as well. So we're excited to be able to, as we get more data and we can aggregate more of it, to be able to share this in a more formalized way and stuff too. But your story is maybe a little bit more commonplace than anybody ever realized. Right?
And I think the other thing is that there's, even when people have had monitors, there's a lot of dismissal of the regime of flight, as you mentioned, as to when this is happening. And even in my case, I always had sometimes a little low stuff, and I was like, this is what it's like on the ground. I mean, it's like normal.
Right.
Once I used that as an alert, fixed the problem, but then also started sealing things up around the plane, it actually went back down to 0. So we can use this data that you're talking about to
Right.
really have a major effect on what people are exposed to in the cockpit.
Right, right, absolutely. So,
Excellent.
yeah, so we're super excited about that, and I'm so glad that you had a great outcome with the headset too, and here we are at Sun and Fun. It's really the maiden show, even though we've been shipping the product for about 5 months. This is the first time that it's really getting exposed to the public. So we're having a lot of fun. People know about it. They're asking about it. They're trying it on. They're taking the hearing test over here and finding out what their hearing profile is like. And so it's great. It's a great
Wonderful.
time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for this.
Yeah, thank
you
you.
for everything you do for Social Flight. It serves the community. It serves everyone. And we really do appreciate it.
Thank you for everything you do. I love watching the shows. You have such great guests. So thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Jeff Simon for Social Flight. I wish you all blue skies.